Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm your host, Joseph Pena, 509 Divine Pines. And today we're just getting through with some news and the tube, the weekly news joint edition. You get it. First things first, we got the New World Order Bilderberg meeting taking place in Washington, D.C. as we speak. This is the first time it's happened in Washington, D.C. Most of the times, they let their presence be known weeks in advance. They didn't let anybody know where they were going to be. This was a surprise visit. Coincidentally, 1 week after the World Economic Forum, all visited together. There was more than 120 representatives from Europe and North America, ranging from politics, business, big tech, media, academia, a few military, a few artificial intelligence, computing, the head of Pfizer, the head of CEA, the director of NSC, vice president of Facebook, king of Holland, secretary general of NATO, and many more, all gathered around this weekend. They might still be there in Washington, D.C. Now, the fact that they didn't really let anybody know why and when it was going to be there, and, really is a red flag. They usually let those type of things off way in advance, but they've been taking a lot of heat. You see, people have been going and rioting at these places, setting up blockades, and they didn't want that. I mean, why would we do that? Well, literally, these dudes are controlling our world, and look at our world. It's not really going in the right direction. So, are they really controlling it right? So, some of the key topics that they discussed this weekend were geopolitical realignment, NATO challenges, China, the Indo-Pacific realignment, technological competition between China and the USA, Russia, continuing continuity of government and economy, meaning keeping themselves in power and keeping us out of power, disruption of the global financial system, meaning how to keep our pockets in check with theirs, because they see a lot of people turning towards self money, like learning how to make money on yourself. Yeah, you get what I mean. It's like through businesses, through many different markets like crypto, and just learning how to supply yourself. They don't like that. Disinformation, well, you know that they don't like information. So yep, disinformation was a key for them. And it's not about us spewing disinformation, it's about them spewing disinformation and keeping us following their little agenda. Energy security and sustainability. So, you know, like maybe what we see between California and Texas with the power outages, like maybe they want to do that more. Health after a pandemic, fragmentation of democratic societies, trade and deglobalization, Ukraine. So some of the guests were Albert Bourla, Henry Kissinger, David Poutras, Eric Schmidt, Peter Thiel, and those guys are very, very much some of the world's top of the top. They're right there in all the big names. And if these dudes were here in DC, you can bet that whatever came out of this meeting is going to dictate the rest of our 6 months of this year and maybe the next 18 months. So it's important, I guess, that we keep in mind that these things are being kept hidden for some reason this year. Maybe it's very, very much important, like more important than they've ever made it. Here's a statement from 2014 Global Liz Kissinger. Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on a global scale. That's really their idea. A new world order from many different perceptions assembling on a global scale. Next up, we have some science news. Hey guys, so you guys can hit my link tree and check all my links. Share with your friends, like this, subscribe, thumbs up. Tell me what you think about the New World Order. Nah, don't tell me what you think. I already know. We already know. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like beyond belief. Beyond belief, you know? You know what I mean? Second we got up is a quarter of the world's internet users rely on infrastructure that is San Diego. And interesting things going on in San Diego right now, isn't it? I mean, there's a military base there, also more stuff there. You know, it's a huge operation in San Diego. Is it for the best of us? A quarter of the users living than previously thought to target. Many of that at risk in the global south. A study conducted by computer scientists. So it says about a quarter of the world that users live in countries that are more susceptible than previously thought. So I mean, is that because I mean I don't see it that way. I don't see it as a target like of the internet to find weak links that, if compromised, would expose an entire nation's traffic. Oh, so they're trying to find out a weak link that they can compromise so they can go ahead and like target a whole nation. I mean, kind of sounds like what they've been doing already for the past 100 years, isn't it? Researchers presented their findings at the Passive and Active Measurement Conference 2022 this spring. So they're running multiple different operations at this Passive and Active Measurement Conference, I'm guessing, to find security measures with the whole world. The structure of the internet can differ dramatically in the different parts of the world. In many developed countries like the United States, a largely number of internet providers compete to provide services for a large number of users. These networks are directly connected to one another and exchange content, a process known as direct peering. All the providers can plug away directly into the world's infinite, but a large portion of the internet doesn't function with peering agreements for network activity. In many countries, many of them still developing countries, rely on a handful of providers for internet access, and one of these providers serves as overwhelming majority of users. Not only that, but those providers rely on a limited amount of companies called transit autonomous systems to get access to the global internet and traffic from other countries. Researchers found that often these transit autonomous systems providers are states owned. So if a country or a state wanted to stay private, and didn't want to deal with, one world system, they're having problem with that. Is that what I'm seeing? Huh. It says in the worst case scenario, one transit autonomous system serves all users. Cuba and Sierra Leone are close to this state of affairs. By contrast, Bangladesh went from only 2 to over 30 system providers after the government said, okay, so Bangladesh has a lot of service providers. When they opened up for private enterprise. Underlines the importance of government regulation when it comes to the number of internet providers and transit autonomous systems available. For example, researchers were surprised to find that many operators of submarine internet cables are state owned rather than privately operated. Researchers also found traces of colonialism and topology of the internet in global south. For example, French company Orange has a strong presence in some African. So the France are in Africa controlling their internet. That is quite weird. Why are they that way? Right? Yeah. Okay. Next on, you see that artist thing because it's about like 2 years ago, and I covered this, I believe. Maybe there was a U.S. And World Economic Forum drill and operation about what would happen if the infrastructure and such and satellites started getting attacked. So when they start making these drills and operations, it's pretty important to pay attention because they're pouring a lot of money into that sector, and either they're making it happen or they're predicting the future. So you kind of get what I mean. This article about the San Diego researching a quarter of the world's internet being shut down was just released a couple weeks ago, I believe. Maybe just recently, actually, like yeah, soon. So now I found this article interesting right here. This CRISPR dash CAS9 gene editing approach can alter the social behavior of animals. Right. Okay. Animals. See, we're also an animal, right? Now, if you understand what CRISPR is, it's a gene. If you understand Myrna and shot, and it's a DNA change to CRISPR. So, in two cases, CRISPR and whatever we're getting all up in our arms as a medical thing is a gene editor. And if they're looking at it in the way that it can socially change the behavior of animals, then couldn't that happen to us? And aren't you seeing some alterations in like totally like new energy and variety that it's like seems like trying to genetically alter into us? I mean, it's theoretically, you know, us that way that of already like we're that path in the conspiracy. I mean, people who've been spending like a real the internet actually reviewing articles and ideas and conversations and not even having to be conspiracy, you kind of see that maybe in some fashion like okay, this is true. You can just like edit people and genetically alter people in multiple ways. So this article from the Georgia State University says new gene editing techniques are shedding light on how hormones behavior in animals and possibly humans. So these dudes are going real in depth on how to genetically alter us. Georgia State University students have created gene editing hamsters for studies in science and found that more of the biobehavior may be complex than previously thought. A team of distinguished university professor Kim Kuhlman using CRISPR technology to eliminate actions of neurochemical signaling pathways plays a critical role in regulating social behaviors in mammals. Vasopressin, the receptor that it acts upon regulating uh what the heck? Vasopressin, the receptor that acts on called AVPRA1 regulates social phenomena ranging from pair bonding, cooperation, and social communication to dominance and aggression. This new study, published by Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, finds that knocking out the receptor in hamsters and thus effectively eliminating vasopressin's actions on it dramatically alters the expression of social behavior in unexpected ways. We were really surprised at the results. We anticipated if we ate vasopressin activity, we would reduce both aggression and social, but the opposite happened. Instead, the hamsters without the receptor showed much higher levels of social communication behavior than did their counterparts when the intact receptor. Even more interesting, the typical sex difference between observed aggressivenesses were eliminated with both male and female hamsters, displaying high levels of aggression towards other same-sex individuals. Okay, this suggests a startling conclusion. And even though we know a vasopressin increases social behaviors by acting with a number of brain regions, it is possible that the more effects of receptor are inhibitory. So if they're doing this with hamsters, and I mean, I'm sure that they're like studying humans and all other species of life among this earth, because that's what they do. That's why they have the tags on all these animals. They're studying the neurochemistry, the signals, all that, blah blah blah. I mean, like, yeah, you think that's just tracking, but it's like most of the time it goes way deeper than that. And like, I mean, see, with these cameras, facial recognition cameras, they can also like read your vitals and read your heart rates, with through these heat sensing IR cameras and IR. Yeah, dude, they're telemetrically tracking every system and living organism that they can, and also tracking lab like tests, with all that. So as they do X, Y, and Z over 12 months in society and let it out in a few different forms, like they're tracking how they change our genes and how everybody reacts. And like, man, okay, the hamsters used in the research were Syrian hamsters, and that's a bit interesting because these Syrian hamsters, right? There's a story about them, like somewhere in the early 1900s, a researcher and archaeologist was out there and discovering hamsters, right? And he noticed how one of this hamster was a rare breed, so he spent some time, found it, and they linked it back to an like ancient race like this. They understood that that hamster was a very old race of hamsters, right? The Syrian golden fleece hamster or something like that. Like it's Bible and like city Aleppo. That's what Aleppo Syrian golden fleece hamster. And so like, yeah, it's just weird, right? That the hamsters were the rivals to rats, and rats were the plagued ones, and I guess hamsters were the good ones, in some essence. So they're using this as like a freaking like test subject, and because this isn't the first test I've seen on the Syrian hamster that they're using nowadays. Like they're using this big time, like for their tests, right? But they're also targeting it because it's like a very ancient divine like animal to whoever, whatever. Like it plays a very special role in history, is what I'm saying. Just like some animals play a very special role in history. I'm not trying to worship the hamster. No, I'm not worshiping the hamster. But some animals play very special roles. Raven, you know, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, anyways, continuing on. The stress response is more of that of humans than other rodents. They release a stress hormone called cortisol just as humans do. They also get many of the cancers that humans get. So hamsters are very much related to humans in their internal systems, I guess. Look at that. Their susceptibility to SARS-2 virus causes COVID-19, makes them the rodent species of choice because they are vulnerable to it just as we are. Wow, it's almost like they're targeting certain genes and certain like ancient lineages. Developing gene editing hamsters was not easy, but it is important to understand the neurocircuitry involved in human social behavior, and our model has translational relevance for human health. Understand the role of vasopressin in behavior is necessary to help identifying potential new and more effective treatment strategies for a diverse group of neuropsychiatric disorders ranging from autism to depression. So, as you can see, they're openly stating that they want to like have some type of relevancy between the human, you know, and they're not really telling you what they're reading in the humans, data reading system technologies in the medical and technological side of reality. So they're doing it. I mean, they're trying to socially alter us, like, and they're trying to make us exactly who they want to be. Now, this is interesting. Portland Air National Guard unit is first to test out Robot Dog for base security. Oh my god, dude, check that out, bro. So here in Portland, anybody on the West Coast, you guys better be paying jazz attention. They have robot dogs right there in the National Guard, and so that's right by my house, nearly like 100 miles away, something like that. The Portland Air National Guard 142nd Security Force Squadron became the first guard unit in the nation to receive a new robot dog and plans to test the technology for surveillance and base security operations. They're going to track down people. They're going to track down all the Wookiees. The Oregon-based guard unit's quad-legged unmanned ground vehicle. Hey, man, I seen this movie. Oh, man, it was on Netflix about a robot dog. Kid found it when he was like a motorcyclist, and it started becoming his best friend. Oh, yeah, this ain't gonna become our best friend. You know that. Otherwise known as Q-UGV. So this Q-UGV quad-legged unmanned ground vehicle can conduct video surveillance, patrol a fence line without putting airmen in danger. Robot dogs first made an appearance in active duty bases last year, and the equipment and testing are now trickling down into the Guard. The 142nd received the robot dogs at the start of the year, according to the base's public affairs office, and the security forces have started demonstrating the technology to other units throughout the state this past month. Holy so they're gonna have robot dogs everywhere in Oregon. That's a trip, though. I mean, like they literally just legalized cocaine, they legalized mushrooms, they have legalized weed. I'm pretty sure ayahuasca. So there's a lot of drugs legalized. So the same for drugs, but this is to track down and hunt people. Oh my god. We've been testing it out by programming it in different routes and seeing how the GPS works in our situation here at the base. Tech Sergeant James Cuniff at the 142nd told ABC K2 TV. We're putting it through different terrain tests, up and down hills and stairs, seeing how it interacts with vehicles and how vehicles interact with it, and how people on the installation. The work done by Ghost Robotics and Immersive Wisdom has a variety of cameras and sensors on board and can climb up rugged terrain as well as high step over obstacles. A single charge powers the robot dog for 7 hours. It is controlled remotely by security forces operator at the base. But the plan is to eventually have the robot dog on a pre-programmed path to run autonomously. Last year, the 325th Fighting out of Air Force Base in Florida became the first Defense Department to acquire the technology for robot dogs for base security operations. I could say there's definitely a lot of interest in the capabilities of this technology. Master Sergeant Christoph Miller of the 305th Security Force Squadron said intend on continue to explore the use of Portland has taken the robot dog to other bases such as Kingsley Field and Klamath Falls, Oregon last month to showcase how it can help routine-based duties. We're going to have the capability to speak to people through the robot. So if we do encounter an individual, we can engage them verbally, remotely, from another place or base while we're responding at the same time. It's a simultaneous response capability that we've never seen before. Yeah, okay. So is it going to have a gun on it? In Portland at Tyndall are unarmed. The robot dogs in Portland are unarmed. Ghost Robotics displayed one of the robot dogs fitted with a rifle at the Association of United States Army 2021 annual conference. So they have already put a rifle on there. It's just a quick little screw in change. Just get the drill out. Jeep beep. Put the rifle on. Takes about 2 minutes. Hey, now I got the gun. Send them out. Oh my god. The use of autonomous weapons and equipment in the military has gained interest and popularity over the last decade. Robot dog resembles the four-legged creature of the robotic Boston Dynamics, a yellow robot dog named Spot, which has been in viral videos from the company in 2019. Ghost Robotics also partnered with the Department of Homeland Security earlier this year to test its robot dogs for use at the border. This was seen in similar things to Metalhead in Black Mirror and many other sci-fi and cartoons where you see robot dogs, and maybe the danger that might have. The larger discussion of the role of autonomous systems in the military and how they will affect future jobs in the rank is just beginning to take shape as more inventions reach the field. I think the trend we're seeing is we're trying to automate what are called the dirty, dual, and dangerous tasks. The dual task is going around and patrolling, but we're still going to need the people because if something is detected, we're not going to have dogs that can automatically do intervention. So it's just trying to up the security everywhere. And man, I thought that was pretty fascinating. Like, that's what robots are doing these days. They can go ahead and patrol, they can talk to you, they can probably, and who knows more. So, like, share, tell your, and man, we're in for a bright future ahead, aren't we, guys? China's Pacific Plan seen as regional strategic game changer. An article from Wellington, New Zealand. Yes, so China signed a security pact with the Solomon Islands in April, raising concerns in the U.S. and allies that Beijing may be seeking a military outpost in the South Pacific. You guys need to be paying attention over here in the West Coast, like I am, because this is important. They can just move in quicker. That's what the idea of fellow Americans are. Try to up the ante further this week, reaching out to Solomon Island nation with a security proposal that, even if partially realized, could give it presence in the Pacific, much near Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and on the doorstep of the strategic American territory of Guam. China insists its proposal are targeted at regional stability and economic growth, but experts in government fear that beneath the surface, it is browsing an attempt to expand its influence in a strategically critical area, threatening to bring a new Cold War at best and a world war at worst, people speculate. Aside from the impacts of our sovereignty, it increases the chances of China getting into conflict with Australia, Japan, the United States, and New England on the day when Beijing decides to invade Taiwan. A draft of the proposal obtained wants to train Pacific officers team up with Chinese and traditional and non-traditional security forces and expand law enforcement cooperation. So they just want to run more police forces all throughout the islands. And China also wants to jointly develop a marine plan for fisheries and raise the possibilities for a free trade area with the Pacific nations. It targets Solomon Islands, Kiribati, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, the Cook Islands, Niue, Micronesia. Pointedly leaves out the Marshall Islands, Nora, Palau, and Tabula, all of which recognize Taiwan as a country. Interesting. So they still have problems with Taiwan, and those four countries which you heard are taking Taiwan's back. Marshall Islands, Nora, Paula, and Tabula. Yeah, shout out to them. Like many other nations, the U.S. has a one China policy, which does not recognize Taiwan, but also proposes any unilateral changes to the status quo. The islands dot a vast area of ocean between the continental United States and Asia and were a center of the Pacific theater fighting during World War II. So they're trying to move in or they're just trying to help, but it could be both. But at the same time, they could also just be trying to take over and be China and also move in. So they could really just be trying to ruck a mess and start some problems. From the military perspective, China's presence on some of the Pacific Islands would mean a better ability to delay United States naval assets and disrupt supply chains in case of conflict. So, yeah, like our supply chain is already a little bit disrupted and they want to disrupt them more. This is prime real estate. Most of it is water, but if you connect up those islands, archipelagos, and an island chain that runs between them, it's huge. The diplomatic blitz comes after regional powerhouse Australia ushered in a new government, and Beijing may have decided to act now to try to catch the prime minister in his infancy stages. This follows a period of shadow boxing between Australia and the United States and China in the last few years, in which there were clear suspicions that China was indirectly trying to make inroads through dual use and infrastructure investment deals and not doing so in an overt government to government way. Now, this is China in its most visible, high level way, literally on the door knocking tour of the region to try and lock in whatever gains it can. We need to respond to this because this is China seeking to increase its influence in the region and the world where Australia has been a security partner of choice since the Second World War. See, yeah, Australia is like our partner, but they might just be trying to get stolen by China. Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be a problem, man. That would be a problem. We need to be offering more support, and otherwise, we can see the consequences with the deal that was done with the Solomons. We know that China sees this way as the first of many. Our relations are not exclusive of or opposing a threat to any third party and should not be interfered with by third parties. China's foreign minister had said Thursday. So they're telling us it's not a problem, but statistically, it looks like a problem, guys. It looks like it can be a problem if this goes through and our supply chain. Oh, oh Lord. All right. From what I hear, though, there's people in our own country who are willing to help. Find them. Now, oh, for that. Oh no, okay, it did run through. So, with that treaty and with that agreement that China is proposing over there in the islands, maybe it has something to do with North Korea ramping up its missiles and such. It testing its dominance, it testing its wartime ability. See, North Korea fired some missiles a few days ago, fired a missile, and started running drills and really started activating all of its military. So the U.S. and South Korea Navy started an exercise, a rare exercise, with Thursday off the Japanese islands of Okinawa, and has been the apparent first drill together since 2017. These guys in South Korea and America are vowing to, in case of any threats. Really, who knows? I mean, a lot of this could be just Cold War type stuff, but if you look at the world, I mean, there is places getting bombed, and you know that's not out of the picture ever, ever. Like, we can't be so brash. Kim, who was in Seoul for a trilateral meeting with his South Korean and Japanese counterparts to discuss a nuclear standoff with North Korea, said, said what? Well, the North Korea, the next test would be, or last test would have been in 2017 and 2006. So they haven't fired missiles in a long time either. I guess the last time we got together with South Korea was the last time North Korea fired a missile. Interesting. So every time that North Korea pulls out its military guns, we get together with South Korea and have a little party. Now, specifically on the west coast, yeah, like I'm right by a nuclear facility, so I would be devastated and incinerated like pretty soon, like real quick, within like a matter of minutes. So I gotta stay aware of this at least. And lastly, quick news articles today, guys. Not doing too much. Sunday, I was feeling my cousin yesterday. Shout out to my cousin. Congratulations, Hank. You're the best. That was a good wedding, good time. I feel good. It's making the West Coast. Couldn't ask for better. This last article is just a cool article about how the Air Force dominates the video games. And if you know about the Air Force, they're actually supposedly, conspiratorially, theoretically, the military with the most ET information and secret government technologies, and they're the top of the top with all that. They talk to aliens. The article states chief super soldiers yet, but the military champion. The Air Force won its video game tournament playing Halo against the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force. Around 1,000 people were in attendance watching this go on. It was playing Halo Infinite in San Antonio, Texas, at the Texas Tech Port Center. Wow. So these dudes play Halo in real, and one of their favorite video games ever. Awesome. Who would have known? I mean, I'm sure that all military people love playing Halo. That's just a guess. You know. It's a long article, but we don't have to get into it. You guys have a wonderful day. Like, subscribe, share. Peace out.